Hello and welcome to Dining with Death. This episode is on my playlist, Dining with the Disappeared, where we talk about people who have vanished. We discuss the circumstances surrounding their disappearance, and then we talk a little bit about the place that they disappeared from. I'm Stacy Lee. Let's begin. I am committed to becoming more involved in the very serious and very real issue currently happening here in the United States surrounding missing and murdered Indigenous women. Indigenous women are murdered at 10 times the rate of all other ethnicities. Did you hear that? 10 times. Not twice, not 4 times, not double, 10 times. Murder is the third leading cause of death for Indigenous women in this country. More than 4 of 5 Indigenous women have experienced some type of violence personally, and more than half of Indigenous women have experienced assault. I wish I could give you a solid number on how many missing Indigenous women there are in this country right now, but part of the problem is reporting. No one knows for sure how many are missing because these women are just not looked after or treated by the media in a manner that allows us to see them as a priority. But all experts agree it is thousands and thousands. We have a very serious issue with the way we treat people of color when they go missing and when they're murdered. And you can call that political if you want. That sounds like a you problem. These are facts, and facts don't care what your politics are. Let's take Wyoming for an example. Gabby Petito's body was found in Wyoming. Over the course of a 9-year period, 710 Indigenous women went missing in Wyoming. Now, of course, a percentage of people who are reported missing are found, and that percentage varies, but 710 in 9 years. And then, we see a case like Gabby Petito, and it's, all over everything. What about these other women? Now, I am not in any way saying that Gabby Petito's case shouldn't have received all of the attention it did. I am saying all missing persons cases need to receive that kind of attention. When I was researching this case, I saw a quote that really summed it up. It said, "It is not wrong to care about the Gabby Petitos of the world, but it is wrong to only care about the Gabby Petitos of the world." I think that's putting it really, really well. Of course we care about Gabby Petito, and of course we care about every person that goes missing, but we sure don't always act like we do, right? I also feel like missing men's cases do not get a lot of the attention that they need. So I've made it a priority to make sure that I cover men on this playlist as well as women. But I am really going to do better, and I am really going to commit myself to making it a priority of mine to cover missing and murdered Indigenous women's cases on this channel. I decided to cover this case today because it's happened recently, and I feel like there might still be some hope for finding this person. Kimberly Michelle Bear Claw Iron grew up in the Crow Indian Reservation of Montana, which is located in the southern part of the state, bordering Wyoming. Now, here's a great example of what I'm talking about. Between 2017 and 2019, 3,254 people were reported missing from this area. Now, over 90% of those people were found, but it just shows you that many people going missing from such a small area. Going missing is not a rare occurrence. I wondered why this was, and I called an Indigenous friend of mine who is part of her tribal council, and I asked her how to explain this and why this is. She said that the reservations are very small communities, and many people have friends and family members who live in other reservations. It is not uncommon, apparently, for someone to just pick up and leave and go to another reservation and not tell anyone where they're going. She said that's just kind of the way it is. Not everyone is assumed missing just because they aren't around for a week or so, and that leads to the problem of tracking who is really missing and who isn't. Kimberly Iron did go missing from a reservation, and so many people might be willing to brush off her disappearance as if it's something common in that area, but her family knows different. Kimberly has 3 children that she is very devoted to, and her family has been brought close together by almost unimaginable tragedy. Her great uncle, her uncle, and her cousin have all been the victims of homicides. 3 of her family members have been killed on the Crow Indian Reservation. This family has seen more than their fair share of tragedy, and they cherish the family members they still have. I couldn't find a lot of information about Kimberly's childhood or her life on the reservation, but we do know that she was 21 years old and that she has 3 small children. We don't know the reason why, but in September of 2020, Kimberly left her 3 children with relatives in Hardin, Montana, saying she was leaving town for a while. She never returned to pick them up. Kimberly's family says this is not like her at all. She is a devoted mother, and her children mean everything to her. They are emphatic that this cannot be written off as a case of abandonment. They know that something terrible has happened, and they are looking for answers. On September 22, 2020, Kimberly's father, Curtis Iron, received a phone call from Kimberly. She was upset. Her voice was shaking and she was crying. She said that she was in Las Vegas. She told her father that her boyfriend had been arrested and that she was desperate to come back home, but she didn't have any money. Curtis was in the process of asking his daughter, "Where are you? How can we get cash to you?" And suddenly the phone call ended. He called the number back over and over, but no one ever answered. Days went by without any word, and her family became more and more concerned. Then Curtis got another call. This one came from the Long Beach, California area. Again, Kimberly was crying. She was upset. Her father could tell she was on speakerphone, which to him meant someone was listening in on their call. Again, he asked for her exact location, and again, the call abruptly disconnected. He called back over and over and got no answer. At this point, Curtis knew that his daughter was in some very serious trouble. He said the family rarely travels outside of Montana, and Kimberly doesn't know this area or this region where she was in at all. One of my questions that I couldn't find an answer to when I was researching this case is, where is the boyfriend? She told her father that he had been arrested. So if that's the case, we very clearly would be able to track where he was. He was in jail. He either bailed out or he's still there. I'm not saying he had anything to do with this. I'm just curious as to where he might be. So if anyone knows anything about that, please feel free to comment. On October 6th, 2020, Curtis got another call from Kimberly. Again, she was on speakerphone and he knew something was very wrong. Again, the call ended in a disconnection, and again, he couldn't get an answer when he called back. However, at this point in time, the police had become involved, and they were able to track that call. It had come from Oxnard, California, which is about an hour northeast of Los Angeles. Curtis and other family members were confused and say they have no idea how or why Kimberly would be in the Los Angeles area. Kimberly's children are being cared for by Kimberly's grandmother, a woman named Marilyn Chief. Marilyn has taken a very active role in trying to find Kimberly. She told the press, "The life we live on this reservation, we never get justice, but we still fight for it. What we've already been through was so tragic, and now this. That's why I knew I had to step in. We need a plan. We need to bring her home safe." Marilyn gathered some family members and they began trying to track Kimberly through social media. They sent message after message through every app and every platform Kimberly used. Occasionally, they would get a response, but the messages never sounded like they were coming from Kimberly. The answers were short and vague and didn't give the family any of the information they were asking for. The family is convinced that Kimberly is not the one sending these messages. Curtis, Kimberly's father, said, "Nothing is adding up. She was always on speakerphone, so the people she was with, whoever they were, could hear everything she was saying. She would tell me that she was okay, but she didn't sound okay to me, and she didn't sound like herself." Curtis is very concerned that his daughter could be being sex trafficked and that she is in danger. He says her children ask him each time he pulls up to the house, "Is our mom with you?" and that it breaks his heart to have to tell them no. I don't think that unless you've been through something like this, you can even begin to understand. I have some friends who went through something similar to this, and they did get their daughter back, thank heavens. But it is just unimaginable. I can't even begin to imagine it. Police have labeled this a missing persons case, but state that they believe Kimberly is in California and want her to contact them. So again, this sounds like maybe they're just looking at this as someone who has taken off, but that is not what her family believes. If Kimberly was able to contact the police, they believe she would do that. Kimberly has now been missing for a year and a half. Captain Jay Middlestead told the press, "We believe at this time that Kimberly Iron is in the greater Los Angeles area. We know that she has contacted her family, but until she notifies law enforcement, this is still considered to be a missing persons case." The phone call that her father received on October 6, 2020, is the last time anyone has heard from Kimberly Iron. Her family is desperate for answers and vow they will continue searching for her as long as it takes. Kimberly Iron is 5 foot 2 inches tall. She weighs about 125 pounds. She has brown eyes and light brown hair. She also has a small scar between her eyes. If you have any information at all, please reach out to the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office at 406-665-9780. Her case number is 20-01288. You can remain anonymous. Now, usually on this playlist, we discuss the place where the person disappeared from, and because this is Dining with Death, a lot of times that place is a restaurant or a bar. This case, we do not know where Kimberly disappeared from, but I wasn't going to not cover this just because there is not an element of food to it. I want to cover these cases regardless. We know Kimberly was in Las Vegas. We know there was a possible arrest that took place there, and then we know she was in Southern California because the police tracked her there. So I just can't give you that information. What I really want to do is just to say, if you know anything at all that you think might help, please reach out. My heart goes out to the Iron family and to all of the people that are missing Kimberly, their sister, their friend, their daughter, their mother. This is a really, really sad event, and I really, truly hope for some closure for everyone involved. If we get more information in the future, I will update this case, but I really wanted to make everybody aware of it. Thank you for joining me today on Dining with Death, Dining with the Disappeared. Like the video if you liked it and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. Stay safe and be kind to each other, and I'll see you next time on Dining with Death. Bye.